In the last video, we set up the material for our landscape, and there was one other thing that I'm going to show you in setting up the material that will give it a little more character. I wasn't overly happy with the final product at the end of last video, so I played around a little bit. And we'll add one more thing to give you a little more control and to give it a little more detail. And to do that, we're going to use displacement. So let's go ahead and add the displacement node, and that's going to go here to the left of the material output. Let's add a color ramp that goes to the left of the displacement. And then if you select the color ramp, let's add one more thing. Let's add a noise texture. Then if we select the noise texture, press Control T, we're going to get the nodes that allow us to control the mapping on the surface. So let's take the noise texture, plug the factor into the factor of the color ramp, the color of the color ramp into the height of the displacement, and the displacement output into the displacement of the material output. And I'm going to zoom in so I can see the effect a little more clearly. And we're going to mostly play with the noise texture and then look at a few other numbers that you can adjust if you want. So let's start by looking at the scale of the noise texture, and I'm going to change that to 100. And that will give us what looks like layer lines on the rocks. And let's change detail to 20, which that doesn't do a whole lot, but we'll go ahead and leave that at 20. The roughness you can adjust and get some different effects. If you have closer to 0, you have really pronounced layer lines. The closer you get to 1, the more that fades out into more of a just rough texture, which I kind of like that, but you're welcome to play with that number all you want. At this point, you can play with the distortion a little bit and get some different effects. You can play with this one. I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't think I've heard that pronounced in any video, so I'm not going to butcher it. But playing with this one will give you some different results. You can play with the scale on the mapping node to get different effects. And then you can also adjust the color ramp to adjust how much of that is coming through. So this is just another tool to give you a little more variety. And I'm going to pull the color ramp back and set the scales back to 1 for now. And you can also add a little more variety in color. I'm going to add a little bit more different greens, or at least one more different green color. Not what I want. Let's make that not so intense. And let's pull it closer to the center and land it to the blue side a little bit. Pull our browns over a bit more. So that will just give us a little more variety in the colors. And we can play with this as much as you want. Here we just get a little more texturing and detail to make it not quite so bland. So play with those numbers as much as you want, or if you don't want them at all, this is just kind of optional, and you can delete that if you're not happy with how this affects the landscape. And in the next video, we'll start adding the track or the path for the track and the terrain to follow.